Hi, this is a video on how to create a more realistic stock screener that you might actually use to trade stocks using Equities Lab. Again, we're going to start from our home screen and we're going to create a stock screener. And we're going to do something very similar to what we were doing before. Just create a value, screen 0 to 10 PE, 0 to 1.5 price to book, and we're going to set the dividend yield between 3 and 10%. And now we're going to do something which is, first I'm just going to run this, and this will take a while, and you'll see that there are a bunch of names that are returned, and I'm just going to go to the results table. You're going to see some big companies returned, but when you get to the bottom of the list, you'll see some weird names with companies that have very small market capitalizations. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a restrictions tab to pick companies that are actually tradable and that you would actually want to trade. So we're just going to create a new tab. I'm calling it restrictions. You can call it whatever you want. And we're going to set a bunch of restrictions. So first of all, I'm going to choose companies with a market capitalization of more than $500 million. So as you type in MAR, market cap just pops up. You hit enter. So I've already entered market cap. To get the greater than sign, I'm going to just click on that, hit greater than, and that just puts it in next to it. So anytime actually you want to put an operator in after a property like market cap, the easiest way to typically do that is to click on the property and just replace it with the operator that you want, and then you'll get the appropriate field following. I'm going to set it to be greater than 500. Market cap is expressed in dollars of millions, so greater than 500 pick stocks with more than $500 million market cap. I'm going to exclude all finance companies. And this is for a variety of reasons, mainly because I want to exclude funds. However, it's also because finance companies typically have slightly wonky accounting ratios. So I don't really want to be using the same screen for finance companies that I do for all the other regular companies. So in this case, you'll notice that I put in classify as. What I really want is not classify as. So I'll just type in classify as and replace it with not, and that just adds it in. I'm going to exclude ADRs. ADRs are American Depository Receipts. These are basically foreign companies with shares in foreign markets that are traded in on the US markets. And again, the reason I exclude this is because I'm not terribly sure about accounting conventions in foreign companies, in foreign countries, and I don't really want to be using the same screen unless I'm pretty sure about what I'm doing. I typically have a sanity PE check. In this case, this is a redundant condition because the main screen itself filters 0 to 10 PE. So this restrictions that I have here ends up not being a binding restriction. I typically filter out stocks with a closing price less than $10. This helps me get rid of penny stocks, which have weird properties. Now I have a liquidity restriction. And what this liquidity restriction does is it ensures that over the last 10 days before the rebalance, every single day more than $1 million of a stock has transacted. So the command I'll use for this is minimum X within N days. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type in volume times close. So volume times close just takes the daily volume, multiplies it by the closing price, and we'll get a rough sense of how much of that stock transacts. I'm going to look at that over the last 10 days, and you're going to set it more than $1 million. So this will exclude all stocks that have transacted less than that amount within the 10 days before the rebalance period. Then I have a condition for the float. So the float is the actual number of shares outstanding in the markets. And I typically want the float percentage. And the way I'm going to compute that is I'm going to take the float and divide it by the shares outstanding. So to do that, I'll just click on the float like I just did, hit divide, and it'll look like I'm just deleting float. But when I hit enter, what it does is it puts the divide operator just next to the float, so I can type in whatever I want the denominator to be. In this case, I'm going to take the shares as of the most recent quarterly statement. And I want that percentage to be more than 50%. That means more than half the shares outstanding have to be tradable. This excludes stocks where insiders hold a vast chunk of shares, or stocks that have just gone public, where majority of the shares have not been sold on the open market yet. And finally, I just have one sanity condition for the yield. Again, this ends up not being binding because our main editor has a yield condition that's tighter. So now I have a set of restrictions, and I'm simply going to add that entire set into the editor. And when I hit go now, I should get many, many fewer stocks. In fact, right now I see only 8 stocks pass this criteria. But the good news about this is that these are massive stocks. These are all stocks with market capitalizations above $500 million. In this particular case, you'll notice that there's a massive amount of concentration in the oil and gas sectors. And that happens to be the case because the prices of these stocks have been pummeled as a result of falling gas prices and falling oil prices. So when that happens, recent earnings are not going to be hit as badly. However, the price to earnings ratio will look very low. Dividend yields, again, recent dividends won't be affected that much, but the price to dividend ratio will again be very low, leading to high yield that will get through this. So that's what's going on here, but we can backtest this and see what we get in this sort of a screen. So these are the results. Again, the default is a 4-year window and weekly rebalance. I'm going to change the rebalance to quarterly, and I'm going to change the backtest period to 10 years, and it's going to rerun. And so you see the screen has actually done pretty darn well. However, in this recent time period, it's completely collapsed, and this is most likely a result of the decline in oil stocks and the hit that the screener has taken as a result of that. But that's the way to create a fairly realistic screen. If you want to see how many holdings are in the screen at any given point in time, an easy way to do that would be to plot the number of holdings. So to plot a variable, you'll simply type in a new tab, plot. So this is the way to plot any variable, and whatever the variable name is, in this case it's going to be num of holdings. And when you get this tab, in this box you'll actually have to enter the name of the variable that you want to plot, and it's going to be num. And when you scroll down the list for num, you're going to see num held. There are other things in the num category. There's a number of trades, so that's this thing over here. That's the cumulative number of trades that your screen has made, the number of losses you've taken, the number of realized losses, number of realized wins. You can explore the other things that are in there, the number of stocks that you held that ended up being delisted. But for now, I'm just going to plot number held, and you're going to have to rerun the back test. And once the results pop up, you'll see a graph that looks like this. You'll notice that the number of holdings is visible on the right-hand axis. Currently, there are 4 holdings as of December 1st. There were 3 as of August 18th, 4 as of July 31st, and the screener had a high of 49 holdings as of July 30th. When you plot a variable like this in the backtest table, you will also get a column with that variable that you plotted. And this will be useful if you ever want to find something to do analysis with. So you can just download these results into Excel and do analysis with them. You can see there are 4 holdings in the screener all the way through December. So anyway, that's a way to do a fairly realistic screen. You definitely want something like this restrictions tab in place, just making sure that the stocks that you're buying are tradable, are not penny stocks, are fairly large market cap stocks. That being said, if you want to focus on small cap stocks, that's fine too. You can get rid of this criteria and see what you end up getting.